India was one of the world's largest economies prior to the colonial era, accounting for nearly a quarter of the world's GDP in the 17th century. The concept of insurance originated in India, with the first recorded insurance policy being issued in the 3rd century BCE. India was the world's largest producer of textiles and traded with countries as far away as Rome and China during ancient times. The Indian currency system has a history of more than 2,500 years, with some of the world's earliest coins being minted in India. India's caste system played an important role in the country's economy for centuries, with different castes being assigned specific economic roles. The port city of Surat in Gujarat was one of the world's busiest trading centers during the 17th century, with merchants from across the world flocking to its markets. The East India Company, which played a major role in India's colonial history, was originally established as trading company in 1600. India's Industrial Revolution began in the late 19th century and was led by entrepreneurs like Jamsetji Tata, who founded the Tata Group. India's economy was largely agrarian until the 1950s, when the government launched a series of industrialization initiatives aimed at modernizing the country. India's economic liberalization in the early 1990s resulted in significant growth, with the country's GDP increasing from $300 billion in 1991 to $2.7 trillion in 2020. The informal sector makes up a significant portion of India's economy, with around 80% of the country's workforce engaged in informal employment. The service sector is the largest contributor to India's GDP, accounting for around 55% of the country's economic output. India is the world's largest producer of milk and the second largest producer of fruits and vegetables, making agriculture an important part of the country's economy. The Indian rupee is one of the oldest currencies in the world, with a history dating back to the 6th century BCE. The Indian government launched the Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Scheme in 2005, which guarantees 100 days of employment to every rural household in the country. India is the world's largest democracy, and its political system has had a significant impact on the country's economy. India's democratic system has led to a stable government and a growing middle class, which has helped to fuel economic growth. India has a complex tax system, with multiple layers of taxes and regulations. The Goods and Services Tax, GST, was introduced in 2017 to simplify the tax system and make it more transparent. India has a thriving startup ecosystem, with a number of successful startups in industries such as e-commerce, food delivery, and ride-sharing. Some of the most successful startups in India include Flipkart, Ola, and Zomato. India has a young population, with around 65% of the country's population under the age of 35. This demographic advantage has the potential to drive India's economic growth in the coming years. India has a large and growing middle class, which is expected to reach 475 million people by 2030. This middle class is driving demand for consumer goods and services, and is expected to be a key driver of India's economic growth in the coming years. India has made significant progress in reducing poverty in recent years. The poverty rate in India has declined from 45% in 1993 to 21% in 2011. India is a member of the BRICS group of countries, which also includes Brazil, Russia, China, and South Africa. The BRICS countries are seen as emerging economies that have the potential to challenge the dominance of the Western economies. India is one of the world's largest producers of coal, and has significant reserves of other minerals such as iron ore, bauxite, and manganese. India is also a major producer of renewable energy, with a target of achieving 175 gigawatts of renewable energy capacity by 2022. India's tourism industry is a major contributor to the country's economy, with around 10 million foreign tourists visiting the country in 2019. The government has set a target of attracting 20 million foreign tourists by 2020. India has a large and growing digital economy, With around 700 million internet users and a rapidly growing e-commerce market, the digital economy is expected to be a key driver of India's economic growth in the coming years.